Hello and welcome to another episode of Power On Podcast, 00Status. I am Motogun 553. Hi, how's it going? Hope all is well. And with me is the beleaguered, busy,
bewildered, bemused,
bemused Sushi. Sushi B, how you doing?
I am all of those adjectives right now. But otherwise, I am looking forward to this since it was my pick, and I think I surprised you a little bit with this pick. So, looking forward to this one for sure.
Yeah, it was a pivot I wasn't quite expecting, but in the same hand, it's kind of like, okay, all right. We've been kind of, I don't know, it feels like we were sort of sidestepping this one a little bit.
Yeah, probably sidestepping a few of the ones that maybe we have maybe either a positive nostalgia vibe for, or just tend to have maybe a more general positive sort of what's the word I'm searching and reaching for? Like within the fandom, this is probably on the higher end of most people's list. Like if you see a top 10, it's very rare not to see this in. If you don't like the movie, great, that's fine, but it just tends to fall at least in the top 10, if not they're higher, right? Sometimes top 5. Sometimes at the top, even. I've seen this movie at the top for quite a few people.
It is the one that sticks in my head when I made the comment when I had seen Casino Royale in the theaters with my dorm mate / high school friend. And I was like, oh yeah, I really like that one. And I think he made a remark. He's like, did you like it even more than Goldfinger kind of thing?
Wow. So obviously in high regard for that individual.
For him there. So
okay,
because he was a bit surprised that I took to that film so well at the time. So
okay, yeah. Fair enough.
But yeah, it's just always stuck in my head with that because there's a lot of people who swear up and down on this movie.
Yep.
And I guess we will go through it and see where we stand at the end of it there.
Yeah. But since you always often ask me first, what's kind of been your history with this movie, or what do you recall of this film prior to this viewing?
I have very vague recollections of it as a kid.
Okay.
Particularly the laser.
Okay. Infamous scene.
Yeah, the laser part, the even like toward like the back end of the movie, like where the Fort Knox gate explodes. I remember seeing that. I don't know if it was because it was one of those in that like strip of like what was that, A&E? Well, not A&E. What was that channel that did the Bond?
TBS?
Maybe it was TBS or something.
TBS always had that Bond.
Those marathons.
Yeah, marathon, and it was for X number of days for the month or something like that. Yeah.
And maybe that always popped up and stuff. Of course, the woman in gold, because I remember my dad telling, like, because I remember seeing that. I'm like, why did that person die? And my dad's like, oh, they suffocate. Like they say it in the movie as well, but he's like, oh yeah, you can suffocate. And they had like 3 doctors or something on scene to make sure nothing happened when they were filming those scenes, just in case.
And still, wasn't there a bit of a snafu that still occurred, anyways?
I don't remember.
I seem to remember there being an issue with the actress or the. I don't know if she was necessarily an actress, but the body double or whatever that was there. And I didn't honestly do research on that, but I seem to remember there being a concern, like something had happened and they were frantically trying to get it off her. Like she was not in a good place when it happened.
If that is the case, they certainly did not bring that up in the behind the scenes that I watched, so I don't remember that coming up. And mind you, I did watch it behind the scenes a while back, but Yeah. I do have the notes for it, and I don't see anything about that in my notes.
And I could be very wrong, right? Like it could have just been an old wives' tale or what have you, right? Like it could have just been a hearsay that they may have spread that almost as like a marketing piece
Job
or
spreading lies.
Even though like all these
Poor Odd Job.
Yeah, poor Odd Job. Not so poor Odd Job. I think Odd Job's very well, fondly remembered. I don't think he's very poor in that regard. I think a lot of people have actually a very good opinion of the character and the portrayal.
Oh, well, I think it also helps you have the younger crowd who know more for multiplayer Bond and not being allowed to use him.
That's what I've heard. Yeah, because which is weird, isn't he? Like really small or something in the game?
Yeah, so it takes a moment for the if people have auto aim, it takes a moment for it to track to them. Mm-hmm. So there's always just that little bit more, just that little bit of a step to it, which I kind of would think would be a bit of if you didn't auto aim and just kind of kept it set, like unless he's ducking there and crouching, you just it's pretty easy to shoot at.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I've played GoldenEye a few times, but I've never, not extensively, so.
That was. I sold a lot of NES games to get that 64 game.
Ouch.
I mean,
you had a good time.
Oh yeah. So
depends which NES games too, I guess.
I don't even remember. It was.
Well, if they were not that impressionable, then you obviously didn't care for them that much.
No, it was all the ones that I had growing up. But I mean, it is what it is.
So. Which would have been what? Castlevania, Blaster Master.
No, those were grandparents.
Those were grandparents. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they had that. So I know Final Fantasy was one of them. But,
okay.
But I don't remember what else I had.
Yeah. Funny how the sort of attitude towards doing that has changed significantly. Well, you hear a lot of people, I traded in my N64 stuff for PlayStation 2. I traded in my, it was, nobody really batted an eyelash at that. But now you have all these people that are very opposed to that or very distraught, that they traded in stuff.
Like, oh my gosh, I did that.
Yeah, because it's so hard to come by some of these games now at a reasonable price. Some of them, so I think it's fair. But it's funny how you want the hot new item when it comes out. Gotta get that fancy new thing.
That NES, it served me well. It lasted for a very long time. So, the battery was going out on it and stuff, and I didn't know how to fix any of that. I just knew it wasn't, the games weren't working for it and stuff like that a lot of times. So it was like, yeah, you served me well.
Right. Fair enough.
Somebody else can fix you. let them have at it.
Right. So. Right. Yep. Fair enough. I guess from my end, I don't know when the first time I had seen the movie would have been, but my fond memory of this movie would have been, this is the first Bond movie I ever rented out from somewhere, of my own money too. So I had rented it out, and I think at this time movies must have been maybe 7 days, something like that, 7-day rentals or something like that.
Okay.
And I want to say within that 7-day rental, I watched it 3 times. So quite a few of that 7 days. Watched it the first time, really loved it. I remember it was either the second or third viewing. I remember not going to school. This wasn't grade school. This was university. I had time in between classes. Mm-hmm. And I remember watching this in the middle of the day, maybe I want to say 11 o'clock, something like that. Mm-hmm. And eating 3/4 of a chocolate cake.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So that's kind of my fond nostalgia for this movie. And the exact portion of the movie I was watching when eating the cake was the car chase scene with at night. So Bond was trying to escape the compound.
Right.
and with the ejector seat and stuff like that. It was in that sequence that I was eating this big slab of store-bought cake.
Gracious.
I don't remember if I got sick after. I just remember eating it while watching this movie. That would probably be my most fond memory, though, or best recollection of watching this movie.
Okay. I'd say before watching it for this, how long ago had it been since you've seen it?
Probably then, actually. So it's quite some time ago. Yeah, quite some time ago. I don't know exactly how long that would have been at this point, and it's very possible that I caught parts of it on TV, but not in full.
Mm.
You know when like a new Bond movie's coming out, and then some channels will they'll just randomly get a handful of them,
right?
And then they'll just show for a week worth every night. They'll show one, and perhaps I caught one of the movies. It might have been Goldfinger. I'm not sure, but in full for sure would have been pretty long time ago.
Mm-hmm. Huh. And say I definitely hasn't been that long for me. I want to say I've watched this probably within the last 5-6 years.
Okay.
So I don't remember what the impetus for it was, but I just remember I think it might have been on TV or something. Just had it on. But
So did this still feel kind of fresh, or was it just more? Oh,
a lot of stuff as I've gotten older and watched stuff, it just sits there.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a lot of it feels fresh, as jaded as that may come across. It's just, if it's something I watched when I was a kid that I won't remember, and then watch something, say like American Tail.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's more of a recent thing. It's like, I hadn't seen this in forever, and I remember watching it as a kid. And I'm like, oh, okay. But if it's something I've watched since like high school or something, it's much less of a, oh, this is fresh. It's kind of like, okay, I remember this now.
Yeah, well, that's sort of what I meant. Sorry, not so much as in, it's been this big long time, and more so like, did you recall lots when you were watching this? And right, this is what's going to happen next, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I was surprised how much I kind of knew and anticipated what the next steps were. I thought I'd be a little bit more murky on the flow of the movie. There was a couple of parts where I was, oh, right, that's going to happen, or didn't expect that because it just didn't click in my mind. But for the most part, most of it, and aside from, of course, some little things like, oh, there's the flag placement of the Swiss flag when he pulls into the gas station, like things like that. Of course, I'm not going to remember, but
I didn't even catch that watching this now. Like I don't catch those details.
So we're going to pause here. You're going to rewatch the movie.
Oh yeah.
No, not that detail made any difference, but just some of the, again, going back to something we've talked about, a lot of the scenery in this movie, I really appreciated that sort of gas station stop and just the sort of angle and showing the distance of the Alps behind, the sort of front and center part of the scene was, here's Bond, here's Masterson, and then the way off in the distance, here's this amazing, piece of landmass that you can also experience and see. But your focal point is looking right at the characters and the interaction. But I was just like, it's kind of cool. Like all the flags are running up to, on the gas station, and how he just kind of pulls a U-turn and takes off. And just little things like that I always find more intriguing now after not watching these movies for a long time. Because I think I would assume when I watch them, as being younger, you're really just focused on all of the main stuff that's happening, everything that's right front and center. And this time it's like, oh, what's kind of happening in the background or off to the side? Or I think I'm a little more attuned to that now watching this.
I'm terrible at that. It doesn't matter if I'm
just not trying
18
enough.
or 80. Evidently not. But it's just not, I don't know. Part of it's the movie, just like watching stuff in general. I have a hard time just being really passive to watch something, and it's just not really my bag. I guess. So.
That's fine. Like I said, we're looking at these differently, and this when we come together, I think I always catch something from your words, and yep, never thought of that or didn't catch that. So
maybe not.
there's been a few times where you've said some stuff on some past ones. I was like, oh yeah, right, that totally slipped my mind. So, but yeah. Anyways, Goldfinger.
Gold.
I don't even think we've said. I don't even think we've said the title of the film yet.
I have not mentioned it yet. Goldfinger.
Where would you like to kick this off?
You're starting us. I thought.
Right.
You chose.
Sure. Primarily, we've been starting to kind of look at some of those strengths of the film, and secondary stuff comes later on, or in more areas that we would prefer not to watch or wish were better. But I would say, on the whole, this movie is justified for a lot of the love it gets. I think it does have a lot of strengths. That opening, 5 minutes, 8 minutes, whatever it is just a fun romp, and it certainly sets up the franchise after this point. The one in From Russia with Love is really good, story connected. This one, not story connected, but it's just kind of like a mini movie before the movie.
Right.
Like, it's almost if you were watching, you remember how those movies used to have like those animated shorts that would come before the movie? This almost kind of feels like that. It's just like a little short taste of what Bond is about and like. And if you hadn't seen the first two movies, you get a really good picture of the character in that first segment. So I find it really strong. The only thing that's a bit goofy is the guy in the tub, trying to reach for the gun, and just how clumsy and silly it looks.
Right, yeah, he looks pretty bad fumbling it. I think this is actually based off of or inspired by an actual espionage mission.
Okay.
Off of the Dutch coast or something, where they had to develop a scuba outfit that could keep the suit from wrinkling. Okay. So that when they discarded it, they could go straight into like some dinner party that they had to go to.
So some sort of dry suit that would not get damp and wet and wrinkled.
Yeah.
You're looking a little suspicious.
Yeah.
Like the Ace Ventura thing when he falls into the tank and he walks out and he's soaking wet.
They said, do not go in there.
Do not go in there. But then I know you haven't seen True Lies, but Arnold is wearing the opening segment of True Lies is actually quite reminiscent of this. Actually, you should watch it.
Okay.
It's almost identical because he comes in the water, he cuts through this ice flow. He comes out, he takes off his dry suit, and he's wearing a white tuxedo, just like Connery. Like, there's a lot of similarities. I won't spoil it all, but there's a big explosion, and he had a lot of stuff that actually, I'm guessing Cameron must have been a fan of this to put that in True Lies. So it's kind of a nice homage to it. But yeah, I like it, and Connery looks awesome in a white tux. I found, generally speaking, Caucasian men have a hard time pulling off the white tux, generally speaking. If you have a darker tone of skin, it usually just looks like really spot on, looks really good. But Connery pulls it off. He looks really good.
I'm kind of like, I guess I prefer the gray stuff later.
Oh, I like the gray suit and stuff later too.
But
you just want a Dalton. I don't know what the thing you wore where he did like the thing that covered his tuxedo neck.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that little
whatever that little, I don't know what it's called, but
that's cool and it's practical. I mean, this is still cool and practical. I will say this, and this will kind of pivot with just like something I really don't like in this film, and I don't know what happened. The cutting and the sped up film portions really bother me. You get that early on, and you get this throughout the film of these weird segments of it just being sped up. I don't know if it was just the choice going on. It's kind of surprising that I don't really hear about it often. It bugs the hell out of me in this movie.
I mean, you know what, though? Think about Thunderball had it. It's probably a technique that was probably utilized more often than we realize in the 60s, I'm assuming. From Russia with Love had it with the train. Not so much with the acting, but more so like when it would show the train.
Mm-hmm.
And probably with the helicopter sequence, and we probably just don't remember it. The boats definitely did too.
Right. I get that they did, but it starts right from the get-go.
Yeah, it does. Like that fight when the guy knocks out the girl with the club, it's kind of that weird sped up.
Right. And it's just some of the cuts in it.
Yeah. I would agree, yeah. There's bad cuts in this movie.
So, and to me it's kind of weird that it doesn't come up. I mean, I know it might be a little bit of a nitpick in certain ways, but it just sticks in my craw. Why is that coming on right? I'm sorry. Let me turn that off. I don't get why that's even coming on. I thought I turned that off.
Evidently, the James Bond gods are not pleased with your assessment.
Good Lord.
I don't think you caught that.
Okay.
I said evidently the James Bond gods are not pleased with your assessment, so they're trying to strike you down with aircon.
All right.
Freeze thy young blood.
Freeze.
But yeah, no, there's definitely some weird editing going on with some of that, and I don't know. Yeah, I assume some of the sped up stuff is just kind of a 60s vibe of, oh yeah, we got to make this look more I don't know,
intense.
Yeah, I guess intense is probably the right word for it.
It's like so you get to a chapter in a book and you start reading it and you're like, oh, this is just kind of like a bit of a fluff chapter. So you just sort of skim through it. Mm-hmm. That's what that is. It's a scene that you just sort of skim through.
As you're reading, the text is getting smaller, so you're trying to read it faster. And then it's like 28 font suddenly. Yeah. No, I don't disagree with that. I guess it doesn't detract enough of the overall film, but you're right. It is prevalent.
It just, it seems a lot more than the other films that it's neighboring. That's why I bring it up, because it's just like, it is in the other films. Not to say I was ignoring it, but it's just, I guess it just annoys me more in this film.
Fair enough. But yeah, again, that whole like opening sequence is just a fun ride, right? It's done in a really short time. And there was other things in this movie too that I thought, okay, I get it. It's just silly, like, okay, seeing the reflection from the woman's eye that he's coming after him from behind, stuff. But again, 60s sensibilities. This probably was pretty fascinating to see. Now we know that's just kind of totally ridiculous. But we're also watching a Hollywoodized film, so I was like, whatever. There's worse things that. We've seen worse things.
Right.
But it's a fun little ride to kick off the movie and kind of get you engaged right away. Especially this being the third movie, there probably still were people who hadn't seen a James Bond movie at this point. Even though the first two movies were quite successful, the way word of mouth goes around at this time and age and day would have been so different than now. If anything's popular now, you are very likely to hear about it if you have any sort of circles within film or pop media of any kind. So I think that was probably a smart decision on their part to just kind of showcase right away and get an audience immediately invested without it being interconnected with the rest of the film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I can agree with that. It's a good step to do that. Plus, if people have been following it, it's a nice enough stir that it still keeps it fresh. So.
Yeah, for sure. Other than the fact that why are there nitrogen cans, or what were was it fuel cans or whatever, just in like an office space?
Well, I think that it was some sort of plant.
But it's just so weird because that office space looks beautiful. Like it looks like it's like a CEO's office or something. It doesn't just look like an average office space.
They do, he does infiltrate it in a very sneaky way.
He does.
Like it's
he
not
does,
like it's got it. Yeah.
I just thought it was odd that these highly flammable cans are.
Well, it's never really specified what it is, right?
No. Does it say nitro on it or something?
Well, no. I mean, what that location is.
No, it doesn't. But
right. So it could be that, hey, our, secret office in nondescript area. I think it's supposed to be maybe like a drug lab or something. Mm-hmm. I could be wrong, but
less is more.
So, I mean, you just get it off the map.
Mm-hmm.
Shoot. So.
Yep, for sure.
Less of a detail, though.
Yep.
That's really needed. I mean, you have the cool little, get the C4 out of the tubing kind of thing.
Yeah. Looks like, that marshmallow goo that comes in a jar? You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about.
I don't know what it's called, but it's
jet
like that.
Puffed or something.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. It looks like that stuff. That stuff that probably is made of some stern stuff you probably shouldn't be eating. Drop a match down your stomach and see what happens. Come straight out your ears.
Oh no.
But yeah, did you have a strength or area that you thought was really good in the film?
The film as a whole? Or
yeah, let's just keep looking at a bunch of these strength areas. And I'll kind of bounce back and forth.
Because it's, the third film, bring up a point of, they do this prisoner bit, but the prisoner bit's a bit different.
Mm-hmm.
In that, Goldfinger's got him dead to rights. And it's like, that very, probably the most iconic of the film. Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
That's 100% the most iconic part of the film.
Right.
100%.
So just that slap back,
mm-hmm.
That line, but also how that happens, and there's still a whole lot more to this movie to go.
Yeah, that's maybe about halfway.
Right, and so the fact that it you have the Bond is playing very much on the back foot.
Mm-hmm.
A lot is kind of nice, as opposed to thinking he's really, really got it from Russia with Love, and he's he's know what he's doing, but he's actually being led by his nose,
mm-hmm.
inadvertently or not inadvertently, but just just unknowingly. So with this, it's kind of like, oh, I've got to be on my sort of best behavior, even though he completely belittles Goldfinger whenever he can.
Well, especially within the first two meetings.
Right. Well, I mean, when he gets to the farm, and it's like, better bred than his owner.
Oh yeah.
It's like, Bond,
man,
what are you doing?
Yeah, you are not in a good state right now to be making those comments.
Right. How it leads up to the actual reveal of what Goldfinger is doing is neat.
Mm-hmm.
I like that element because you're not 100% certain what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
With what he's wanting to do, why, what's going on? Okay, the gold thing, I get it, all right. And then Fort Knox, and then his plan's getting introduced, and they're like, oh yeah, he's just gonna steal the gold out of Fort Knox. And then they have the scene with Bond, and Bond's like, I'm no dummy. That's a lot of people, not a lot of time. What are you thinking? Oh wait, no, I get it.
Yeah.
You're actually gonna radiationized. irradiate all this gold. No, I don't know how it would make it worthless. Like that's the one thing I guess my brain.
Yeah, I guess not necessarily worthless, but because that gold could be, it's almost inactive. Like no one can go get that gold. So what gold he would have would increase in value because simply it's able to be traded. It's able to be used.
I guess. I mean, in the sense of like what companies would have available use, like the use for, I guess, in that regard, but they have such a small market to use that sort of thing. You know what I mean?
Yes and no. I mean, gold is in a lot of things, though, right? Like dental fillings. Like it's like it would control everything. And I think because like if I'm thinking from a stock market perspective and stuff, gold is used when the stock market's falling apart, right? It's a hedge. So he would have quite a bit of power to be able to use gold to leverage on a lot of things.
Well, it's still there.
Yeah, I mean it's there, but who's going to go get it? Well, just wear a suit. Send the Hulk in there.
Yes, wear a radiation suit. I guess I'm just too dumb to understand how that would cease to, and it's for 58 years. Like,
I mean, it's not explained how this being irradiated would negate somebody going in, but even if you wear a suit to go get that gold, how would it be utilized after? Yes, you could go in and get it, but what, every single person who goes to use that gold is going to be irradiated then?
Well, no, this is what I'm getting at, though, is that the gold is not used as a resource in the sense of anything but financial backing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not used by companies that are like, hey, we need this as a resource in that regard. That's why I'm it just seems a little off to me.
I think it goes back to he would try to leverage those companies that would need to use that as a resource. They would have no option but to buy his gold or get his gold.
Right. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Like in that regard, but then if he hikes it up so much, like they could go elsewhere. I mean, I know gold, there's not a ton of gold all about, but, you know.
Perhaps his intention is to get that other gold somehow, though, too. If he's going to go to this trouble, who knows, right?
No, I get you.
I see what you mean, too. But I think it's, maybe we're overcomplicating a 60s plot, perhaps, too.
Well, it's just, I'm just confused at how irradiating it completely takes it off the board.
I mean, it takes the Americans, the Federal Reserve, somewhat off the board, I guess. And since they're such a big player, I guess is his thought process here. Yes, you could keep mining gold from other places, but
it's the United States Reserve it's still there. It's just, it's still there. You just can't. You have to handle it more cautiously. Like this.
Yeah, but maybe in his thought is who's going to buy that gold if it's irradiated, and you have to go to extra circumstances to protect somebody from utilizing it to whatever means it might be. How do you if you and I are in the dental industry and we need a thin piece of gold to line a crown, well, how are you going to get that gold from there? And it's going to pass hands however many times, and all those people have to somehow, I don't know, handle that gold, and it would probably be so much more extra cost to have to deal with it, even if you have access to it.
I don't know.
He's got this scheme in his head. I don't think it's a bad scheme, honestly. It's probably one of the stronger ones of the franchise, because it to me it makes sense, because he's taking a major player off the board. It won't take everyone out, but it's taking away a huge player. And then he finds out that the gold is actually under New York, like they did in Die Hard with a Vengeance.
That's why I was waiting for you to bring that up, because it's obviously it's in New York and nobody. Well, yeah,
he's waiting for Jeremy Irons to.
I guess that that's something I just have a hard time thinking how outside of the shock of the attack itself, how that, like, it's still there. Like, it still represents that. It's just irradiated. Like, it's not like you're drinking it.
Like, you're not drinking it, but I think it just comes down to he's taken the U.S. out of it, and basically most people are not going to understand how to deal with getting it, and then finding a way to actually actively use it in some regard, whether it is to trade, to sell, to actually use as a resource, whatever. I guess that's just what's going on in his head. So
yeah, like, I believe more the complications of other things, like, oh, they let this attack happen. Oh, you know, they're holding all this gold from other countries, and now it is question marked. I think they'd be mighty peeved at that. Those sorts of disabling things, as opposed to the whole gold thing. Yeah. But
I mean, those are those additional repercussions that just probably aren't mentioned as clearly as they could be.
To me, those are the repercussions that are more important than the gold thing, I guess. So it feels like it's like focusing on the
valuation.
The gold is the shiny thing, while it's like the other, like the more sturdy stuff is kind of like off to the side. That's what it feels like to me.
Well, they weren't going to call this extra repercussions finger. It doesn't really have the same ring to it.
No.
But okay, well, it's funny. So we're kind of different on that. But one thing I found in this movie that I liked was there was kind of some, as cool and collected as Connery is in this movie, there's some moments where even he has to sort of smarten up and stick to being
disciplined 007.
A disciplined agent. I think the biggest one is when he's driving the car, and who is
Tilly?
Tilly. Yeah, I'm mixing up Jill and Tilly. Tilly drives by, and what does he say? Something like disciplined 007 or something like that, right? As he's driving, because he wants to chase her down, right? So I like that, and I think even though he's been captured by Goldfinger, as you said, and stuff, I think he knows that he's putting himself at risk, but I think he's figured out the inferiority complex that Goldfinger has and how to press his buttons, right? And that's why he keeps doing those things, because he's figured that out after that initial card scam that he busted up for him. And just the inability of Goldfinger to basically lose at anything. So, but I found his sort of discipline throughout the movie is kind of intriguing, because he's a little more lackadaisical in the first two movies, a little more carefree.
And it helps having Goldfinger be present pretty much from the word go after the opening credits and the theme song and stuff. He's there a lot. Like, he's not
the
shadowy mystery man.
Like Dr. No, who doesn't show up until way late into the third act.
Or the secret organization that's, you see the tendrils slipping out there, but Bond is unaware of it. Yeah, this one's, he's up front. Hey, how's it going? So,
and he wasn't like fake Blofeld getting killed at the beginning of For Your Eyes Only. Something silly like that.
Mr. Bond!
Put me down! Let me go!
Put me down! Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah, it's just... Wow. Why did they bother with that? I don't know.
But, he's also a bit angrier at times. Like, Bond is not like a lady killer. With just how he acts with Jill and Tilly, and then just his he says something about when he's being driven to the farm. He mentions to pussy galore.
Yep.
That he kills little girls like you, and then she's like, hey, he kills little boys too. He seems to really, that kind of really irks him a bit.
Mm-hmm.
The lady killing.
Yeah, no, it does. And I think just probably partly because it's so unceremoniously done too. Like there's no Goldfinger doesn't care, right? It's nothing to him.
Yeah, I think the Tilly one's pretty bad. Like,
yeah,
it's just kind of like.
Yeah, that's just pretty bad. Both of them are, and yeah, like he disposed of these sisters, and inadvertently on the second one, right? I don't even know if Goldfinger would have known Tilly was involved so much as Jill was, obviously directly involved with him. So, but it didn't matter. It's nothing. It's just a stepping stone to the final piece of his puzzle. Those are just whatever. Get them off my plate. I don't care. They mean nothing. So, and it's probably only a matter of time before that would happen to Pussy Galore at some point, right? Like she's going to make an error. It's calculation of something, and then he's going to dispose of her, be rid of her.
Right.
She's not that important to his grand scheme. And at the end of it all, he can find another pilot.
Yeah, well, and I think also like Bond's instructions for her to go for Tilly, and then for Oddjob to just kind of murk her there. He's kind of like, oh boy. I'm not too happy.
Yeah. Well, and is that, I'm just trying to think of, at that point, would there have been a really direct, because that's like a kill, right? That's not just sort of slipped on the hat and fell down. It's like a straight kill.
Right.
I'm just trying to think, is there any other really straight kill of a woman by that point? I don't recall in From Russia with Love. I guess like an out and out assassination.
I can't really.
Nah, it's not coming to mind. But and I think Oddjob's credited with both of those kills.
Right, because he knocks out Bond and
would have painted Jill.
Yeah, so Oddjob's doing. He's a busy guy.
Yeah, lots to do. Chop.
To do. He's doing. I guess that was just when you have really good henchmen, you can kind of get away with a lot.
He might even think he's underpaid.
Maybe. I mean.
All right. Anything else you wanted to?
Let's see. So Guy Hamilton planted this seed for Q to take a little bit more of a prickly approach when it came to his interactions with Bond.
Yeah.
Which I am all for. I like that he gets annoyed because he's like, bring the stuff back, for God's sakes. I don't joke, this is my job, and you're making it really tough.
Yeah.
Because you're ruining everything. So I like that element gets incorporated in here. With this film. And it's also nice that the Aston Martin, he's like, oh, where's the Bentley?
Right.
Kind of gone, old boy.
Yep. He had something better.
It certainly filled the role very well.
Yeah, you're right about that. I mean, that leads to the trend of all future Q and Bond interactions, more or less.
To an extent, yeah. If not overly passive aggressive.
Yeah. I think that's what surprised me when we watched For Your Eyes Only, because it's one of the few times Bond and Q sort of play nice in the sandbox, sort of.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, like Bond even commends Q a couple of times, I think, in their interaction in that movie.
It must have made Moore sick.
Who knows?
I don't know.
Maybe he was just, that whole movie probably made him sick, even though we enjoyed it. He's probably just like, why do I have to be serious? Are you serious? I have to be serious?
Where's the Beach Boys? I need more humor.
But yeah, it's this, and this doesn't go too far off the deep end of being too snarky, but there's just enough play there and enough charm on both sides of the play that it's just cheeky enough.
it works well that for the most part, the kind of that play is more front loaded,
Mm-hmm.
and then really starts to go away, outside of being sprinkled here and there on the back half.
Mm-hmm.
The golfing scene, especially where he keeps, he's like, I know exactly where the golf ball is because I'm standing on it.
Right.
The caddy, his caddy, I can't think of his name, but his caddy is just like, oh, you cheeky bastard.
Yeah.
I like the interactions with just this random caddy dude.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he was good. I like the golf scene quite a bit too. I think it's fun that it's supposed to be some tension there, but it's so calm. Like it's kind of almost on the opposite end of that, even though you know that these two are playing as a viewer. And there is some tension, obviously, right? Like right at the start when they introduce to each other, and then as they're playing, it kind of comes down to a degree, and then it kind of picks up at the end point after the game again.
Well, that and just the strict golf rules.
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't know anything about golf.
Yeah, I don't know if those are specific like skins rules or what those exact rules are from, but it's they at least propose it simple enough to somebody who doesn't know what golf is that okay, you get the fact that this is an illegal play, like based on the conversation. It's like, okay, I don't need to know all the rules. They do a good job of just making it to the point instead of complicating things. So that anyone who doesn't know enough about whatever particular rules they're following, that you're just completely lost. It's just very simple, and I like the golf scene a lot. It's fun. I like too when he panics a little bit when the ball falls off the tee.
Oh yeah, right. And it's like, oh boy.
Okay.
That ends with Oddjob crushing it.
Yeah, crushing the ball,
slamming it out of the car.
Yeah, that reminded me of Gobinda too. Later in Octopussy, right, when he takes the dice, same thing. Like he's figured out Bond has swindled his employer, so very similar type behavior and response.
Yep.
But it is funny when Bond's standing on that ball, because when he hits it into that brush, that brush, it goes like way further than where he's standing. So some of the editing is a little bit like, that ball went further towards the tree, and he's standing like right in the middle of the tall grass.
It hit a very buried rock and just kind of rolled its way over there through the rough.
But that still is one of my favorite parts is the Oddjob just when he he calls for the ball. And one of the funny lines before that too, where he says something, Goldfinger says something about golf is not the national pastime in Korea or something like that. It kind of makes me laugh now because of how dominant Korean women particularly are in golf. Like they are completely dominant. So it's funny how that comment, you see it now and you're like, whoa, that's ridiculous now. That comment makes absolutely no sense now.
I know nothing of golf, so.
If you go check like results, you'll see a whole bunch of South Korean flags. Basically,
okay.
Yeah, the women are quite, they're probably beyond competitive. They're very strong.
I see. So, what is something you don't like about this movie?
Oh, I'm not done with the positives yet.
Oh, you have more positives.
Oh, I still have some more positives. I personally really like the performance of I can't pronounce his name correctly. Gert, is it Frobe?
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 I'm sorry.
I'm probably mispronouncing, but he has a really genuine screen presence in this movie. And even though his voice is dubbed over, which is interesting because we see that a few times in some of these early Bond movies, particularly with some of the other actresses. I think even Ursula Anders in Dr. No, I think she's dubbed over. I still there's a lot of charm to the physical portrayal of the character. And even though you can see he's trying to enunciate everything with his mouth, I think it really helps the character quite a bit, actually. I don't know why. It adds something to this character for me. And I feel the genuine joy when, something goes his way, and the the anger. Like, you can see how angry he looks. Like, it's just, his portrayal is good to me. And I like the whole just, yeah, he almost feels really affable on one hand, like when you see certain things about him, but then you just know, like, deep down, he's just a very selfish person. Mm-hmm. So I like the portrayal quite a bit. And I think there's a lot of good chemistry between him and Connery. Whether Connery had a hard time understanding him or not, I don't know.
Oh, he did.
Okay.
They all did.
Okay. But I still felt like pretty good chemistry on screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it was a good act to put on, to like piggyback off of that. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there are certainly some spots here and there. It's really obvious that it's dubbed over, but I mean, that's also, you know, ancient 60s technology. That certainly plays a little bit into it. I mean, you know, this is a nearly 60-year-old film. Mm-hmm. But that's he doesn't, and it's just the character himself. He lacks, in not a negative way, but he lacks like a menace. Mm. It's less of a menace to him, and that's because I think, you know, Oddjob does all the dirty work. Mm. Or he gets, what's that, Krish? What's the other henchman that he has that's sort of there that you're like,
yeah, he's just kind of sort of there, yeah.
He mentions your name like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, he certainly lacks sort of a flair about him.
Right. Didn't need the flair, though. That's fine. Whatever.
No, but just when you have a personality like Oddjob there, mm-hmm. it's kind of hard to stand out.
Right. Well, I mean, like, they're doing all that sort of stuff, and, you know, he sort of, I'm trying to think of, part of it really taints it in a way, is just because whenever Gold comes up and bad guys, I immediately go to Hearst from Deadwood, and he is psycho in that.
So I've never seen that show,
so it's really hard for me to, like, to be like, Gold, and like, Deadwood kind of ruined that aspect of me.
Okay.
When it comes to this, and I know it's not fair to just kind of segment it out and everything, but it just, it's always that Spectre looming large.
Well, speaking of Spectre, mm-hmm. I do like that they veered away from that for this movie. And didn't just try to shoehorn like, oh, he's actually doing this all for Spectre. Like,
I mean, it does get that mention,
sort of.
With like, that's what I figured it was with the whole. You know, I know you know, think of it as your like the negative side. What the hell was that comment? That, see if I can. Right there on the table, laser torture scene, he mentions. It's because it was just such an odd thing, but you have been recognized, let's say, by one of your opposite numbers.
Oh, yes, that's right, yeah.
So that's what I took away as the
Spectre
allusion to Spectre, yeah. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, if that's what that's intended to be, pretty nice.
Mm-hmm. It could be. If there's any link between Goldfinger and Spectre, though, I thought it was more as sort of an associate rather than a member necessarily. Because I think they probably would have tried to make a stronger link if there wasn't tension there. It's so prominent in the other movies to be like Spectre, right? Like you get lots in Doctor No, you get lots in From Russia with Love, Thunderball. You Only Live Twice. Like, it's so prominent all the time. So I feel like he might have some connections, but not necessarily as an actual Spectre agent.
Ling kind of, I feel like, is also that tentacle, that tether, because of just how he looks and everything.
Could be, yeah.
I don't know. I think it's there, but it's meant to take a little bit of a step back just to, like you said, this has gained a lot of popularity, especially from word of mouth here. Mm-hmm. Let's tone down the stuff that we've really been building on these last two. Let's have this, but we'll still pepper in some of those Easter eggs for the people who've been watching these other movies, and go from there. That's sort of where I lean when it comes to this.
Yeah, okay, I can see that. I also, again, like Odd Job is it got to be one of the more iconic henchmen, or whatever you want to call them.
Manservant,
as he calls him. And he's just got really good screen presence in this, and just always the smirk, whatever.
he's always like, he's like, nice try, Mr. Bond.
Well, like, he throws an entire gold brick at him, and it hits him in the chest and doesn't do anything, doesn't affect him whatsoever. And I think the only time he looks really mad is when he crushes the golf ball.
Well, he does have that. He does show concern when Bond has a hat that doesn't quite have the...
He does have a bit of concern, yes. But as soon as it misses, back to the big smile.
Back to the smirk.
And to not basically say anything on screen and to have that kind of magnetic draw is really well played by the actor. And
he's the one that's always shouting the guttural stuff there in the Ninja Turtles film. The first
Tatsu?
one. Yeah.
Yeah, I could kind of see that a little bit. Little bit.
Similar.
But Tatsu actually has, like, spoken lines. So. I can't remember most of his lines. I remember that one where that kid runs right into him in that, when they first show, like, their little club hideout or whatever, where they train those new kids as recruits. And that kid runs into him, and he looks like, gives him that death stare, and he's like, go, play. And he, like, shakes his fingers like as if he's playing an arcade machine. And the kid's like, oh, I just saw deaths right in the face and had lived to tell about it. But yeah, no, I really like the Odd Job character. He's got a little bit of a creepiness to it, but he's fun to watch. Like, he's just a good sort of, like you said, he plays off of the Goldfinger character, because there's some other Bond villains that are very similar. They don't necessarily come off as a menacing threat, especially physically, but they have, obviously their plans are interesting. I think of, like, Tomorrow Never Dies with the Elliot Carver character, not menacing really whatsoever. He has other people that do the dirty work around him, but I'm intrigued by the fact that they're not menacing. They're not quite the common man or whatever, but they're just, it's just intriguing to see something that's not always the same. Oh, it's a big bad dude, big scar on his face and whatever. So
right.
Or it's the Russians again or whatever. I will say it didn't work for Drax too good though in Moonraker. I just didn't that one didn't end up working for me. But yeah, I like Oddjob quite a bit. I think he's very iconic and memorable for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, no, I like him being on, and the smirk works because it's not like a distracting idiosyncratic trait. It's just kind of like he's enjoying his job
more than most.
Work is more play for him.
Yeah. Well, he looks like he could fold somebody like a pretzel.
Well, I think he used to be like a professional wrestler or something like that.
Probably, yeah. Something like that. I wouldn't doubt it. Looks like a pretty stocky man, so. But he's hidden under that impeccable suit that he's wearing.
Right.
Like he's always kind of properly fit, right, when he's walking around. So, and the hat is kind of a neat sort of
the hat is
gimmick.
Stupid.
No, I like the hat. It's silly. I like that it's silly.
It's so dumb.
I like that it's dumb. For me that works. It's a fun silly. Like, yeah, it's silly, but I'm okay with that here.
No, I can't. I cannot.
You don't have to. I'm just saying I like it. So
that's fine. I'm not going to, because I don't. Like, I like the Oddjob. Like, I don't mind the character at all. It's just that the hat kills me.
Yeah. Do you think that would have fit somewhere in a Roger Moore Well, no,
Only
it
if,
seems like because there's so many other goofy things, right? That you could see that potentially being a bit
instead
of
of the twins throwing knives, they're throwing hats.
yeah, like ball caps, derby, cowboy, 10-gallon.
10-gallon.
Filled with knives, though. And they start running out of hats, so they just start throwing whatever flippers, like
goggles.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking of like scuba diving goggles, lapels,
little toy diadems.
Yeah, start using suspenders as slingshot tools.
I like the jump to kind of, you had Geneva for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
You get a little bit in the UK with the golf scene for the most part, and then just kind of little snippets here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Get Latin America.
Get some Miami.
Yeah, get some Miami, and then all of a sudden you're in Kentucky.
Yep.
I mean, I get it for Fort Knox and stuff, but it's a nice change of pace to where it's like, oh, you have all this, and it's a nice area, but it's nice in the sense of like, how to put it, something that you can appreciate, but it's not something that's really going to like stand out.
Mm-hmm.
And the big draw for it, I always think of how in Bond films and stuff, I think like Man with a Golden Gun and stuff, we're going to these wild places that nobody ever goes to, and then it's like, boom, right. Fort Knox. We're not even allowed to go here, but we're going to kind of film it from a distance.
Yeah.
And then just theater of the mind it.
Right. Yeah. No, I that was one of my strengths, is I feel like there's just enough sort of world travel in this movie, but they flow for some reason. Something about them interconnect nicely. They don't feel too disjointed, where going from, say, I don't know, India to Bolivia, something that's just so distant. There's sort of an interconnectedness, and it kind of feels natural to go from, I don't know why, but from Geneva to, like, because you're going from Miami to the UK to Geneva to Kentucky. Mm. But I don't know. It doesn't bother me. Like I like the flow.
I think the Miami one kind of gets because I almost want to tie it to the opening scene. Mm-hmm. Just because Miami, you're just stuck in the hotel.
Yeah.
So you don't really get to see out and about. You
right.
Get a little brief. Hey, here's the hotel.
Right. I did hear they had a problem in that the actors weren't available when they did the filming from Miami. So it probably got cut shorter even than they had hoped. Like, that's why so much of it is screened, because,
yeah.
Well, none of like Connery wasn't available. Frobe, well, he wasn't available. So they were on a tight schedule. So they kind of got stuck. That opening shot though, Miami, like the diver, it's like, oh, that's pretty cool. I actually like the way they actually executed that to film like right as he does that perfect dive, and it's like, oh yeah, that actually worked out pretty good.
Yeah, I forgot about that. they screened in Connery looking up to his right for like all of 0.3 of a second,
right?
And then it's back, and it's like, really, guys, you couldn't have.
Yeah, no, and it's they actually couldn't, because he couldn't get there. Like, I don't know if he was coming off of another movie set or what was the reason, but
recovering from getting his ass whooped. I think he hurt his back when he did that scene of getting chopped by a hot job there.
Oh, okay. Did he?
I thought there was something for that. Maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, so when he comes, like when he's in that little refrigerator and then he gets
right
chopped. Oh, okay. No, I didn't know that. So.
We're in about the Dom Perignon 58 or something.
And it had to be perfectly chilled.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Okay. But yeah, I did hear that from the director. He said that was a big issue, and he said, like, obviously I really wanted to film on location with the actors, but it just nobody was available, and I had to deadline to get this done. So it's kind of unfortunate.
I mean, this movie is only an hour and 50 minutes too.
Yeah,
something
it feels kind of short. Like it goes by quick for me, at least. It does.
Well, I would say it's a little unfair of mine because I kept on getting interrupted with things. I was like, okay, pause, need to do something real quick, come back to it, and then watch like 20 minutes, and then I had to pause it again. So it's, hour and 50-minute film turned into about a 3.5 hour endeavor.
Oh, geez. And that's unusual for you because usually you just try to watch it straight through.
Right. So it's just things out of my control.
Yeah.
Joys of the job.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
Right.
Not a heck of a lot.
Ignore calls.
Ignore. Shun the outside world.
Right.
Yeah, and I think just as a whole, I like the flow of the movie, and there's a few bits here and there like I could do without. It does abruptly end. I feel that's that part I forgot about, just how fast it's sort of over with. But looking back on a few of the other ones, it happens more often than not. Actually, with the early Bond movies, they just kind of all this build up to the villain.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's over so fast. And then it's not only that, it's right into the final scene of Bond parachuting down with the Bond girl or whatever, and straight to credits. And you're like, oh, wow, that's really abruptly ended. And it happens here too.
Yes, it does. It is a pretty quick hop, skip, and we're done.
Yeah. It's too bad because I found again, I like the flow of everything. I feel it's all connected well, and all of the Kentucky stuff is fine. It's just too bad that it has to end that way. One other positive though, I do like that the laser that they were going to cut Bond with is brought up again, because they make a big deal out of it, right? This can cut through anything, and it's not just shown in one scene for the iconic scene. It's actually used purposefully later on. You're like, okay, at least that wasn't just sort of a one-off. He has this big powerful laser and then he doesn't use it for some other reason later on. It's like, okay, at least it was used.
Fights
gingivitis. Cool yeah. Removes cavities instantly and the rest of your face.
Right.
It would have been pretty cool if they used that to laser the U.S. Army down, just cutting them down. Cutting the guys in half and stuff. Didn't go that far, but again, at least they used it for something, right? It would have been cool if they used it to cut open the vault, actually. They didn't go that far, but I'm glad it didn't just become a one-off bit.
And here's something that kind of gets to me. Goldfinger's going through with this. He's got all the different mobsters there. And he dispatched all these different mobster leaders. What did he do did he end up just killing all of them? Or did he just, because that's what that stuff does. It's supposed to kill them. That's going to cause a lot more problems. On a very ground level societal. He may not have gotten the gold. He may not have gotten his wish of irradiating that gold, but a lot of problems with this is why the FBI was able to take him to task.
Maybe, yeah. Odd Job came and painted them all gold after.
Yes.
Naked. Left them all there.
Except for Solo.
Yeah. He used all the cheap paint from Home Depot too. He didn't buy the good stuff. Can you imagine the guy walks in we found 150 naked gold bodies. Get this, Johnny. We found 150 naked gold bodies on a guy whose name is Goldfinger.
That is what he'll be doomed to obscurity for.
That is kind of and those guys overacting too when they're getting gassed too. Of hey, what's going on? I don't like this. I think one of the lines is I don't like this. I'm pretty sure somebody says. Yeah, I wouldn't like that either.
Yeah, they were a little overactors.
Yeah.
That whole time.
Well, they might have just been extras or something, a bunch of them. Yeah, that is pretty funny. One other positive, though, before we get into that. There's just a lot of fun dialogue in this movie. There's a lot of cheekiness. And not only by Connery. I found there was a lot of fun cheekiness throughout the movie that just kind of helped the dialogue just kind of skip along and be fun. And not too overtly, deathly serious all the way through. Like even M. This is, I think, the first time we see M threaten Bond, right? Of like, well, I'll get 008 to do your job. And we see that happen a few times later on with some of those M interactions. So many of the like first times happen in this movie. And I think that probably is a big reason why it's so beloved by many. Because a lot of the tropes, if you will, or running gags or themes do stem back to this movie. So, but yeah, I really thought that a lot of the dialogue was fun.
Yeah, I can't. I don't know. This one didn't really stick out as well for me.
Okay.
Like, outside of a couple of things here and there that I was like, oh, that's maybe it's more directional as opposed to like linguistic things sticking out in my head or anything like that. But yeah, I can't really deny nor confirm on that. So that's all I got to say. Like I didn't write down nearly as many little lines here and there. So for me, I didn't feel that. So
okay, you didn't like the shocking, positively shocking.
I mean, that was a line, but like, I don't know. There are other ones that through the other films we've watched and stuff that it's like, oh man.
I think this is the first time Q also says, "I never joke about my work."
Yeah, I brought up that one.
Pretty sure this must be the first time, because
that's what I brought up about the prick.
Yeah. But just because the interaction in From Russia with Love is quite straight laced, like it's
right.
He just accepts the gear. I think he asks a question or two. There's not really any sort of cheeky remarks that I recall from that one. It's kind of, oh, okay, there's all these little quirks and stuff in here. What about the gadgets? This movie's got quite a few gadgets. I mean, they're car gadgets primarily.
The Homer is... It certainly tried that second half. I mean, I do like that it, even though it was helpful, it wasn't helpful to the full extent, a la ejector seat for the passenger, because, let's have him drive his car back.
Yeah.
It's because none of them know how to drive stick or something. I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of.
Well, that guy delays quite long, too. He's got a gun right to him, and he's just like,
what are you doing?
Yeah, and then, down I go. He goes flying out of the car. No, I like that they wanted to make a big deal about all the gadgets, and they do help to some degree, but it's not enough to get Bond out of the sticky situation kind of thing.
Right.
I like that. Rather than just what you would expect of, oh, he's going to get away because he's going to use an oil slick, he's going to use whatever. But you didn't like when Bond totally trashes Tilly's car and he's just like, oh, it must be...
Yeah.
Well, sometimes that happens with new tires.
Yeah, totally.
Just trashes the whole side of her new Ford Mustang. I think he just doesn't like American made.
It just gets that rip in there like that.
But they have some good play too. Like, she's totally not buying into his charms, right? He's really trying to charm her over and like...
She's a woman on a mission.
Yeah, no, it's like, I'll carry your bag for you, no thanks. It's just everything is... She's so cold, and I like that. And he's totally failing at every moment that he's trying to convince her of his intentions. She's not buying it. All right, well, I think we can move into some of those negatives or not strong points if you'd like. I do know you are not particularly a big fan of the theme song.
Yeah, yeah. And here's the thing. It's kind of honestly how I feel about this movie as well. There's like really good parts here and there of it, but I just hate the lyrics for this. It's just like I don't like the singing's on point, the stings of the instrumentation, the melody of it, and all of it around is really nice, but put together it just doesn't really work for me. Like,
Okay.
I really don't like it.
Yeah, I'm not in the same camp. I mean, I really like the theme song, not necessarily outside of the movie necessarily. I think it's good for the film, and the performance of Shirley Bassey here, I think is of her three, this is her best.
I like at the towards the end, when she's like, he loves only gold. I like that repetition part of it.
I like when she does that really strong one though, like it comes out of her voice almost kind of grovelly.
Yeah.
That last one, I was like,
yeah.
Just like that really gets me. I was like, yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah. I don't mind the projection.
Yeah, I actually like the projection. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's a really interesting, totally a 60s thing. Just kind of this very.
Do you think they tried to tone it down here though? Because remember when we watched From Russia with Love, we were saying, oh, that's pretty like sexualized. They were showing like a gyrating stomach and things like that. And here it's still somewhat sexualized, but it's toned down quite a bit in my like compared to that. I feel. I'd
agree with that. It's not nearly as. Yeah, I would agree with that. I'll say that. We'll go with that. Yeah. I don't think it was nearly as sexualized. I mean, still, it's being projected onto like women's bodies and stuff, and they're all painted in gold. But I think that adds to the just what Goldfinger does to a character just shortly after, and also just for the villain himself.
Yeah. And I agree. I like that projection. I think it looks kind of cool. And there's only one weird projection though. Did you notice that there's a projection from Russia with Love in there too? They show the helicopter scene of him diving away from the helicopter because he's got the same hat and he's got like was it an umbrella in hand or a suitcase or something? It's the same shot. It's really quick. It's one of the vertical shots. It's one of the vertical shots. Horizontal shots. And it's the one that's at the bottom. And it just really quickly shows the helicopter pass as he kind of jumps away to not get hit by it. And I was like, that's really weird. Were they just that proud of that helicopter thing? They had to show it again.
I don't remember that at all. I didn't catch
very
that.
Weird. The rest are all from that I could tell were all from this movie, but I thought that was weird because I thought seeing it, I was like, I don't think there's a helicopter scene like that in this movie. It must be from Rush with Love. So it's a bit odd that they kind of shoehorned that in, but yeah, I like the projections. It's just it's a neat style.
It's neat and it just like I said, it works thematically for it there. So
very simple too. It's not trying too hard basically, and that's a good thing. Because we've seen some of these ones that come up later, like especially in the Moore era, right, where you have like people ice skating and the movie set in the desert, and you're like, what is going on here? Why? Why are people trampolining all over the place and stuff? So this is just simple, doesn't get too crazy, fits a good vibe, and like you said, fits the theme of both the villain and the plot and stuff.
Something else I don't like about this. Bond's penis is the saving grace.
Because of Pussy Galore turning a new leaf kind of thing?
Yes. Because of some rolling in the hay.
Roll in the hay.
Rolling in the hay. Like...
That fight scene is pretty damn bad.
Well,
and sped up.
Yeah, it's sped up and stuff. And I get that it's like a goofy whatever. Yeah, just that kind of it being the linchpin for it when the Homer / note ends up not working. It's just, I hate it. I hate it so much. It annoys me that's, oh, you convinced her. It seriously didn't seem like there was much convincing going to work here. And
Maybe
then
like
all of a
earlier
sudden,
when he's saying about, he'll kill you no matter what. Like through their
that
dialogue.
That, turn off the charm, I'm immune kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just really, really, really peters out, and it bugs me a lot. Like, angrily so. Like, I hate it. I hate it.
It almost, I wonder if this ties into just how rushed some of that ending is, though, too, of just, we got to tie up the loose ends here. We're on a tight budget here. You can't go over 2 hours or what? Like, I don't know. I don't think that. I'm sure that was very much always part of the plot, unfortunately. But, I forgot there was one other positive. I sorry to shoehorn it in, but some of the shots of the actual planes, like when they split, like one's flying, say, north and the other two kind of split off in two different directions. So I was like, oh, that's pretty impressive for 60s and to film that. And I thought that looked kind of cool when they actually filmed the actual planes, like doing stuff.
Right. Well, and
like,
they had
that looks cool.
It's like Fort Knox and stuff. So it's kind of like, yeah, you can film around. Maybe.
Right. Well, it's no surprise, right? It's like it's like, oh, we're going to have Bond at Area 51. And then, well, we're building Area 52, the set, because we can't, we can't actually film there. But, well, I think
that's where diamonds are forever. That's Area 51.
Yeah. That's how we got so many Blofelds.
That's why there's so many Blofelds. That's why the moon landing is going on there.
With the people that are walking in slow motion for no reason. They should have had Blofeld. You remember when he's in that little submarine craft? That should have been a UFO. He should have been abducted right there. Put me down. Just flies off. And that's why when For Your Eyes Only comes around so many years later, it's because he finally returned to Earth. They shaved his head. It's the scene from Fire in the Sky with Blofeld.
Oh no.
That'd be terrifying.
That would be horrible.
Yeah, that is as I told to you off air a few days back, because you had mentioned that in one of your Rambling Weeklies. Whoa, that's got to be the most terrifying I don't know, abduction / interrogation testing alien scene on film. Like, it has to be. It's so creepy.
Yeah. But
yeah, no, I can see that. As a whole, I don't think the Pussy Glow character is all that intriguing on the whole.
She, whenever she talked, just her mannerisms, her voice, diction, Captain Janeway from Star Trek Voyager.
Well, plus the hairstyle.
Hairstyle a little bit, yes. Yeah. Like,
I can
the whole
see that.
time I'm thinking it's just Janeway.
I can see that.
Just thinking, I'm waiting for her to just do a quantum leap, tell you off, and then that's it. That's all it's there for.
Yeah, but would that not be the other way around then? Would that Janeway not be a sort of callback to this, since this preceded that, 30 years?
No, what I'm saying is that it's quantum leaped into the body.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Transfiguration or whatever that is, or
something. Yeah.
As soon as you say Janeway, the only thing, and it's horrible, but the only thing is that stupid Simpsons clip where the comic book guy is trying to download that naked picture. He's like, "Come on, Captain Janeway," and he's on 56K, and then it cuts out as soon as it reaches her chin, it just stops downloading, and he gets really mad. I didn't watch too much of Voyager, so I'm not that familiar with it.
That's all good. But yeah, that's about the only.
That's funny though. When you do say that though, yeah, I can kind of see a lot of similarities to that.
Right. So, yeah, I wasn't a big fan of her character, especially with that heel turn. for the good.
Right.
I hate the whole nerve gas thing and the whole let's just fake it to let them like why are you doing like the moment that they start to the moment that they do that you take care of it. Like why are we having World War III
the theatrics
between these the small little bit of these Chinese soldiers?
Maybe they thought this was to ensnare them in a tight space, I guess. Like, because they would surround them then, right? They would have nowhere to run, basically. They'd be in that enclosed area. That's the only thing I can think of.
I guess, but I mean, it's like I said, there's like 41,000 troops right there.
You didn't like Goldfinger's sudden change of heart where he just flips into the suit? I thought that was kind of funny.
It was kind of funny, yeah. And then he's like, oh yeah,
he's over there and just starts shooting.
I'll go get the lady. And just waltzes off.
Well, that's pretty clever. Like, I'll get the lady. He's like, let's get out of here.
All right. Well, then he's just waving around this golden revolver and like,
it's golden.
Nobody's gonna like.
He's got the Christopher Lee revolver. Maybe that's where Christopher Lee's character got the gun. Doesn't look completely the same, but looks similar.
He found the body and smelt the gun.
Yeah. He found a body. He's like, why is this guy covered in gold paint? Looks like
even from the grave. Painted him.
Maybe you know what? He got sucked out of the airplane. He totally flew all the way to Thailand.
Oh yes, yeah.
A big wind current.
Like one of those flying squirrels.
That big wind current took him there. Big typhoon came through, and blew him all the way there. Wouldn't it be ridiculous if there was an actual backstory of the Christopher Lee character finding the body and being like,
just stop.
Oh, here's a golden gun. This seems like a good guy.
I don't need to hear that. Oh.
You know there's somebody out there that's got to connect everything that's probably tried to make that a thing.
I hope not.
Well, everybody's got to have an answer for everything.
Why
does Bond look different? Well, it's because it's
a code name.
So there's an answer for everything, Taylor.
I actually hate the car chase scene. I cannot stand it.
Which one?
The one in the factory.
Oh, okay. Not the one with Tilly necessarily.
Yeah, that's
it's not really a chase, really. It's
but it is kind of like, why is she just beeping the horn? Like,
yeah, that's kind of silly.
You're kind of like deja vu here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I don't like that scene. Like the whole stretch of it.
Mm-hmm.
It annoys me. Him crashing because of the reflection thing doesn't bother me.
Yeah, I like the crash.
Like, it's kind of like, okay, all right, it just didn't anticipate mirrors doing a reflection to, mess you up kind of thing.
Mm.
Sure, okay. But it's really annoying.
Mm.
I'm like, okay. Because it's kind of disorienting, because it's like, oh, he's using the smoke screen and just going one way, and then he's going this other way, and then going this way, oh, then it gets captured, and then he ejects the dude, and he's just kind of driving around a bit, and they're just sort of, waiting for Sax City Sax to start playing there, and I don't like it. Do not like it at all.
Yeah, I don't mind it. What was the other one I was thinking of? It's kind of silly. I think I've lost it. I like a lot of. Well, it's fine, but I like a lot of the sequences of Switzerland. The chase is silly, like you said. It's funny. GoldenEye kind of mimics that chase, though, a little bit, because it's the same car, and like when it's Xenia, right, when she's kind of like she's honking like wild, I think too, and then he kind of lets her pass, and then they kind of race or whatever. It's like that's a callback to Goldfinger, since it's the same car. That's not necessarily a negative, but yeah, again, I like a lot of the scenery and so forth. I'm trying to think of some. There was one other negative, and it's just not striking me up at this point. It might come to me a little further down the line here. I mean, the flying circus is not even just the nerve gas. It's just the flying circus thing is kind of silly in of itself, right? To have these supermodel women or whatever is flying aces. It's like, oh, okay, why do they all have to be supermodels? Like, what's the reason there? Is this just like a Goldfinger fetish thing or something? Is this what this is?
Right.
Or, oh, there was a scene I did like. I'm sorry. I like the scene with Bond in the bathroom on the plane.
Oh, and
and he knows he's being watched, so he's just like moving stuff around and like sprays the mirror and stuff. I like that. That is kind of funny. Kind of a goofy way to play with the spy theme a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's it for me on the negatives. You got anything else?
Mm-hmm. I mean, we kind of touched on a few of them here and there. I will just reiterate that the ending bit, but also like I like how they just tie up the steward and the pilot and stuff and just kind of chucked them into a hangar. And then everybody's just like, all right, go have lunch with the president or whatever. See you.
Right.
Bye. And they just kind of leave him be, and then all of a sudden, gotcha.
Yeah. Felix is in this movie a lot. Is this the most Felix is utilized in any Bond movie?
The most useless Felix.
I'm not saying he's useful. He's utilized in this movie a lot. Like he comes up a lot in this movie.
Right.
Like is this probably his most prominent?
It might be
amount of screen time.
Boy, does he really not do a very good job.
I do like that he basically just leaves him. He's like, oh, he's with a one, whatever.
Right? 10-1. It's he's either going after a drink or a dame.
Yeah.
Fred never followed through.
Well,
the homing just disappeared. Well, we'll just go find him. Go to the farm.
Oh, that's the other gadget we forgot about is the homing device.
I mentioned it a couple times.
The
Homer.
Oh, right.
Do you even listen to me?
I'm listening to you. So. You say the Homer to me, I think of the damn car.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably it for me.
Not that it's a bad scene per se, but the early one with the banker, it really hits the right note that it's going for, and that it's just a complete snore fest to me. Where they're like describing, or Goldfinger, he's seen,
So when they're having the meal?
Yeah, early
dinner?
on. Like it's not like it's a bad scene, but that scene just kills me inside because I'm just like, this I can do without. Like I'm good. This is too stuffy for me.
And that scene is basically replayed again in one of the Moore movies. Remember when he's talking about something about the brandy or whatever?
Right.
That's just totally rehashed in one of the Roger Moore films. I don't remember which one right off the top of my head. It might have been Octopussy.
Doesn't it do it in A View to a Kill?
Maybe. It could be Octopussy or A View to a Kill, but it's basically the same scene.
It's just like, oh boy. Yeah, I mean, it's probably Octopussy now that you say that. Because
it might be the Fabergé egg.
Going the Fabergé egg.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I could swear there's something
Octopussy.
In A View to a Kill that also has that, but that's also him huffing and puffing about how super duper smart he is. I know everything.
Why isn't he just not broken off and made his own agency at this point since he knows everything? Like,
but that he did. He was actually Silva. Roger Moore's Bond is Silva.
Roger Moore didn't come back to Earth. He stayed in space after Moonraker. That is an alien that has replaced him. That's why the next movie is called For Your Eyes Only.
Okay, I'm done. I'm tapped.
Hey, you're the one who's like, oh, he looks like he's Silva. You started it. Yeah, honestly, I don't mind that scene. It kind of at least sets up what is going on with Goldfinger, since You know, it gives you some backstory here, a little bit on the character at least. So, and a lot of the Bond movies do something like this, right? Whether the
Right.
Bond reading a dossier or M sort of leading a conversation which Bond takes over because he knows everything. Or so that's the one thing about the Connery Bond is, at least when he's with M, he can be cheeky and he might actually already know details about something. But it never comes across nearly as smug as the Roger Moore stuff does. Yeah, like it's like the Roger Moore one's almost appalled at the fact that he's being asked a question of that nature.
You dare question my knowledge?
Whereas Connery just kind of goes along with what's being said to him. So that's one thing that I think for that scene it doesn't bug me that much that they're sitting there.
Well, like I said, it's not that it's
just too dry
really,
for you.
It's really stuffy. It's not a bad scene. I'm just bored with it. I'm just like, okay.
I mean, it's not horribly long though either, right? What is it, about 3 minutes, 4 minutes?
It feels like 30.
Oh, jeez. Well, this is because you must have stepped away right when you were watching.
No. I watched through that.
I don't think it feels that long.
I'm making a joke.
I know, but still. I mean, it's stuffy, sure.
I'm just like, I can. It's my soul leaving my body when I had to watch this.
Oh, jeez.
It's not that bad.
Well, we can point to any number of 70s Bond movies where your soul will never return. Or it'll return immediately with a slide whistle. It comes right back in.
As Beach Boys plays in the background.
Yeah.
So, alright.
Damn near got there with Connery and Diamonds Are Forever. Got pretty close. Pretty close.
Goodness. Oh, alright. Do you want to roll into the scores then? Or?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I don't think there's too much more for us to tackle here. Yep, for sure. So I guess I'm going first for this one?
Yep, first.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like we're going to fall on the same number this time.
No.
Yeah, and that's fine. I am going to still go, despite the negatives and so forth, I have fun watching this movie. Like, I can put it on and I can sit and watch it and have a good time. And yes, there are points that are kind of like, I don't like that. Like, one of the biggest ones is that culprit of the sped up film quality. And after you said the Pussy Galore and Bond sort of fight, if you will, not really, but that scene bugs me. Like, just the sped up flipping over and whatever, judo throws and tosses and stuff. It's like, this is just, this didn't need to be sped up. It really didn't. But again, as a whole, I have a fun time watching this movie, and I can put it on pretty much any time and have a good time with it. So I am going to sit on a 6 for this movie.
Okay. I don't like this movie that much. Mind you, that should probably be apparent by this point. But me personally, I find this movie to be not very interesting, and not very fun, and not very good. So I'm going with a 3. That's right. I said a 3.
Oh, your choice. The knives will come for you, not for me. So.
Okay. It's just, I just don't. I mean, sure, okay, great that it started a lot of things, but that doesn't mean that it makes it that much better just because it started things. It's, started traditions on stuff. Like, I've never really enjoyed this film that much, so I know it's not from, having to cut in and out and stuff like that. And it's like, I knew going in watching it, I'm probably like, this is not gonna be, I'm not gonna have fun watching this. The fun did not change while watching it. It's just a very, how to put it, just not a very impressionable impressionable in like an emotional way or anything for me. It just kind of happens. And you're like, okay, all right, that's it. That, and I wonder if Denny's just didn't take Grand Slam from here for their great plan of making Denny's breakfast the Grand Slam breakfast.
I would think not, but
I'm making a joke.
I know, but
can I not joke about things?
You certainly can. I don't think they're probably that big a Bond fan. You want some Odd Job eggs?
I don't think I want some Odd Job eggs. I think I'll pass.
They would have had a meal called the Jaws or something silly. Moonraker mornings? Moonraker Mondays?
Ask me the DB5 or something.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Fill the trunk up with some recovered
DB5 that sounds like some kind of like really high-end Dijon mustard or something.
It sounds like a candy bar.
The DB5?
The DB5.
I think of Dijon mustard. I don't know.
The candy bar with Dijon mustard. Surprise.
Yeah. See you there, like I said, for Moonraker Monday. Well.
So I just, it does not. So like, to kind of go full circle, when my friend had mentioned that about Goldfinger, I had to break it to him like, I really don't like that movie. It's just, and he kind of looked at me like I, kicked his dog or something. I'm just like, it's just not. It just doesn't. Goldfinger just doesn't work for me.
You guys never went to another Bond movie together again, I'm assuming.
Well, we didn't, but that's beside the point. I think we both graduated by the point another one came out. Because when did Quantum come out?
2008, I think it is.
That might have been when I was
7 for Casino, and then I think 8 for Quantum.
That would have been when I think I was in Japan. When I was studying at Saitama.
Yeah, I don't know why they tried to shove that Quantum out so fast. Like, with all the things that are going on, like, why couldn't they just wait an extra year? I have no clue. But we'll get to that one, so.
Yeah. So that, or, like, he had graduated and I was finishing up. That's, I think, what it was, because if it came in 2008, it's probably at the end of the year. I was finishing up my last year at school, at uni, and he had graduated by that point, so. Things I had studied overseas, I had to make up for that year. So, so that's why we never saw another one again. So, so I get to choose.
Yes, you do.
I can choose. I'm just gonna go right to it. Casino Royale.
Okay.
We watched it. We had recorded it and all that sort of stuff. But then things happened. I think it is time to do that again.
Okay.
And, partially because I also don't want to have more Craig and then finish with Craig. Trying to, not necessarily get him out the door, to just kind of tail end.
You just don't want to tail end with, too many of Craig in a row kind of thing.
Last 5 ones we're doing, 3 of them are Craig.
Yeah, no, I can see that.
So.
Yeah, I can see that. I'll be honest, though, I'm not really looking forward to watching that one right at this moment. I don't know why. Obviously, I'm going to watch it. I kind of was anticipating something else for him, and I was like, he's probably going to pick Casino Royale, is my guess. I had something else in mind that I felt would, just in my head, I was like, I'd like to see that after this, but it's your choice, so.
Yes. No, because honestly, I didn't really have a good thing. The only thing was once I took the disc out of the Blu-ray player, was like, Casino Royale. That's just that's really where that's about as strong of a choice that I.
It was about as what sort of, you permeated the chemical balance, and we're like, yeah, this one makes sense.
I don't know. I was just kind of like, I just do that.
Fair enough.
So, all right. Any last comments?
Nope. I don't have anything else that I think we can cover for this movie. So it's interesting to finally get one. I think this is probably the most divisive one, I would say. at this point?
We're pretty much on the.
I think the furthest we've been on from a scoring level has only been maybe 1 point, something like that. It's not much, so this is probably the biggest gap so far.
It's a pretty big gap, yeah.
3-point gap is pretty big. So.
That's pretty big when there's only 7 points to play with.
Yeah.
So, all right, yeah. I mean, and I know this one's a personal one. I know that it's just a movie that does not rub me very, very well. Mm-hmm. It's like that masseuse that you go to. Mind you, I've never been to a masseuse, so I can't really speak to this personally. And they just do all the wrong things.
You walk out with more kinks in your neck than you walked in with.
Yes. It just was not good. So.
Well, let's wash it away with the next one.
So, all right, that is it. You can tell people, tell me how off and horrible and bad I am, and having such a downer opinion.
Hey, you never know. There might be people that are got
all
more
three
to
of
say,
us can get together. If for those who dislike it, join me at the usual place. Oh, that's it. So thanks for listening, and we will return.